And welcome back, everyone, to the week of Who Would Win. From Axel Allens, we have Who Would Win in a Fight? King Ghidorah or Zetton? Did I get that name right? I think that's how it's spelled anyway. From Ultraman. Now, full disclosure, while I'm very well versed in my Godzilla lore and a lot of the kaiju that came out of Godzilla, comics aside, mind you, Ultraman's not one I'm very well versed in. I know it was basically a contemporary to Godzilla. Not exactly one-to-one. I do believe they kind of, if I'm not mistaken, they do exist in the same universe or exist in like a parallel type of way. I can't remember exactly what it was. Like Gamera technically does not exist in the same universe as Godzilla. But you could make the argument they do and they just never interacted. But that would make no sense because I'm sure Gamera would have gone straight for Godzilla's ass if it had the opportunity and would have gotten beaten. Fight me, internet. But no, so Ultraman... Jet Jaguar, for example, is kind of based on Ultraman. It's not Ultraman, but it's based on Ultraman. And it's nowhere near as powerful as Ultraman. Ultraman is pretty powerful. And so, apparently Zetton is one of the strongest kaiju it ever fought, with them amber titties right there. Let's not mince words. Those are amber titties. But it's apparently like this insectoid-looking creature is what it is. But who would win in a fight between the two of them? Because these are like the two main antagonists, rivals to the other one, to their respective kaijus. King Ghidorah, we know, is a creation. As far as we know, it's a creation. In Heisei, it's certainly a creation. In Showa, I think it's just a being that Planet X sent. But as far as we know, they probably created it. Let's go under the assumption they did create Ghidorah. We know that they were responsible for Ghidorah's creation in the Heisei era, that's for certain. And its three heads usually work together, fighting gravity beams, which are in essence, they look like lightning, but apparently they are gravity. But Ghidorah can also absorb lightning, so... Ghidorah is immensely powerful. One-on-one, Godzilla normally is not capable of taking Ghidorah on. Although, in, like, say, the Heisei fight, Godzilla straight out beat him in the Heisei fight. In the Monsterverse, we know that Ghidorah did lose to Godzilla in the past. Godzilla and him duked it out several times in the movie. Godzilla had the advantage in the water and probably was going to win. Whereas Ghidorah had the advantage when it came to just on the air, and then Godzilla got amped. One-on-one, they were going toe-to-toe for a while until Ghidorah amped himself, and then Godzilla won with the help of Mothra. In the anime, Godzilla was losing to Ghidorah until the... let's call it a totem. I can't remember exactly what it was. The item that was anchoring him was destroyed, and therefore he was now bound by the laws of our universe, and then Godzilla completely whooped his ass. That was the thing. Ghidorah, because he wasn't bound by the laws of our universe, he was intangible. Godzilla couldn't touch him. The minute he could touch him, Ghidorah got his ass kicked. And I can't recall any other versions of Ghidorah versus... Oh, Kaiser Ghidorah, again, ended up beating Godzilla until Godzilla also got an amp. So normally speaking, Godzilla and him are kind of like 50-50 on who can win in a fight. Whereas with the Ultraman series, from what I can find, Zeta actually straight out beat Ultraman. This is partly due to the fact that he had perfect counters for any of Ultraman's abilities. But he still beat him. And he's beaten him a couple times. But then Ultraman came back, got stronger, and beat him. Zeta apparently is relatively slow, but has the ability to teleport, create an electromagnetic field, and even absorb the Ultra Slash from Ultraman. Ultraman had to convert his attacks into something called wavy waves to be able to hurt Zeta, or Zetton. Zetton. But yeah, otherwise he was straight up beating Ultraman. And the importance of that is that Ultraman's, depending on what version you're looking at, it can be like a universal level fighter. Other times he's just like a high planetary, but other times he's a universal fighter. So for him to be able to beat Ultraman is actually very important to this fight. But Ghidorah also is extremely dangerous in the fact that he literally absorbs so much energy from the sun at one point. I think it was in either... did he show up in Ultraman cartoon? And that's where... so I guess they maybe take place in the same verse. And that's where the whole him absorbing so much energy from the sun that it dimmed the sun temporarily took place. Because both are destroyers of worlds. Highballing them to their characters' highest feats. you're getting Godzilla, who, in theory, is like a multiversal, hyperversal threat, depending on which medium you're looking at. I still contend that statement, by the way, but whatever. If it's just happening in a game, because if it's happening in a game, that's not canon. You can't use that. Unless Death Battle decides whenever Godzilla Hulk happens again. Whenever Godzilla shows back up, which should be Godzilla versus Hulk. Unless they decide to go into those really weird outlier feats in unknown media, like that's compositing to the umpteenth degree. Yeah, no, Godzilla's never been a hyperversal individual, let alone multiversals can at least is contestable because of like the Godzilla and Hell feats, but still. So the fact is that Ghidorah has always been one of his strongest opponents, and the fact is that he can regularly go toe-to-toe and sometimes straight up beat Godzilla. Zetton eventually kind of, even though he was still one of the strongest opponents Ultraman fought, eventually kind of fell away as apparently stronger kaiju showed up, although he got in upgrades as his time went on in the series. I guess the question just comes down to which versions of Ultraman and Ghidorah and Zetton are you using here? Because if we're just looking like, say, at Showa era, then I'd probably be very inclined to say Zetton because he has the electromagnetic field barrier and he is able to absorb attacks from, say, like, energy. Sorry, energy. He is able to absorb energy attacks, is what I was basically trying to say. But he's able to do that. So Ghidorah would struggle immensely with that. However, in straight power output-wise, power output in terms of attack potency, that might lean more towards Ghidorah if he's ever actually able to hit him. But the fact that Zetton also has a humanoid appearance, allowing him to grapple similar to someone like Godzilla or Ultraman, means that he can maneuver in ways that Ghidorah can't handle. But if we're looking at something more akin to, say, the anime Ghidorah, or even, say, like the Mothra Ghidorah that showed up in one of the Mothra movies, that Ghidorah was, the one that showed up in Mothra was also extremely powerful, able to, like, mind control people and shit. So that's one that now you can produce an energy field of his own. Now you're dealing with a Ghidorah that may well be able to overwhelm Zetton in terms of just sheer power output. And then if we're looking at the anime Ghidorah, assuming Zetton can't find the person who's anchoring Ghidorah to the world, there's nothing Zetton can do against that Ghidorah because he's technically not even in our world. He's in our world and can warp gravity, even space and time to a certain degree just by his existence, but he can't be touched. So while he can interact and absorb energy, Zetton can't do shit to that Ghidorah. So the long and short of it is, if we're going by, say, like the Heisei or the Showa era Ghidorah that showed up, I would probably say Zetton. But if we're going with more modern incarnations of Ghidorah, closer to like the 90s and beyond, then I would definitely, and like Kaiser Ghidorah too, don't forget that, much more amped version of Ghidorah, I'd be more inclined to think Ghidorah in this. Hell, even Ghidorah existing on the planet in the Monsterverse caused the typhoon that was literally terraforming the planet, more or less. I mean, not completely, but still was terraforming the entire area he was in, because everywhere he went, there was literally just a massive storm that followed. Like, him just existing was affecting the planet. So, and that one's tough, because that one we also know absorbs energy, literally can absorb energy. So if he gets a hold of Zetton, then he might start to siphon his energy. And even if Zetton is able to break away from that, put up his shield, Ghidorah, we know, could absorb the energy of the electromagnetic shield. He absorbed the energy of that power generator when he fought Godzilla, so there's nothing to say he can't absorb that. So I might even say anime Ghidorah takes that fight as well. It would be tough either way for Ghidorah, just because that shield and the ability to absorb energy checks back is difficult. But overall, I would say I would lean more towards Ghidorah for sheer power output, at least from what I can find, mind you, what I can find. And because I was trying to find like the best like description of Zetton's abilities, and it's just not easy to find what he can actually do. He shows some stuff, but not all of it. But yeah, I think the majority of the Ghidorahs can beat the majority of the Zettons, but I think some of the Ghidorahs fall to a lot of the stronger versions of Zetton as well. So I would definitely go Ghidorah. Well, I would go Ghidorah, but again, I speak as someone who's not as well versed on Ultraman lore, I guess is the best way to put it. So let me know in the comments below what you think and how you feel about it. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one.